Hello dear students, welcome back again to Chinmoyee's biology channel. So today we are back with a new episode of transportation in plants. So I think you have already gone through the previous episode of transportation in humans. So this is a part of life processes only in your 10th biology portion. So let's get started with today's episode of transportation in plants. So we have already discussed earlier when we were studying about photosynthesis that how plants take in simple compounds like carbon dioxide and other simple compounds which are helping in the photosynthesis, right? So chlorophyll and all that is stored in leaves, certain organs, but there are other kinds of raw materials also which are needed for the plant for building their bodies. Okay, so they take in simple compounds such as carbon dioxide, photosynthesize energy stored in their chlorophyll containing the organs, namely leaves. But there are other kinds of raw materials also which are needed for the building plant bodies that will always have to be taken up separately. So that is not coming by the process of photosynthesis. So for that, what plants are doing? So plants, what they are doing, the soil is the nearest and the richest source of raw materials, right? So from the soil, what all raw materials this plant is getting? They are getting nitrogen, they are getting phosphorus, and they are getting other minerals. So the absorption of these substances therefore occurs through the plant in contact with the soil. So what part of the soil is in contact with the soil? That is, namely the roots are in contact with the soil. So if the distances between the soil containing contacting organs and the chlorophyll containing organs is small, then what will happen? Then the energy and the raw material can easily diffuse to all parts of the body. Suppose the soil absorbing or contacting organs and the chlorophyll contacting organs are near to each other. So then the energy required and the raw materials can diffuse from one part to another to all parts of the plant body easily, but this is not the fact. What is happening? But if these distances become large, what will happen? Because there are some changes in the plant body design, the diffusion process will not be sufficient to provide the raw material in the leaves. So as the design is not that, so leaves are at the extreme one end of the plant and roots are at the extreme another end of the plant, so that energy and the raw materials can't be transferred easily from one part to another. So there is a proper system of transportation in plants also, which is essential in such all situations. Okay, so transportation is helping to transport these raw materials and energy from one part of the plant body to the other. So energy needs differ between different body designs. If the plant is short and the route or the way to transfer the raw materials or the energy is less, then the energy required is less. If it is more, then the energy required will be more. So plants do not move. We all know that they are not moving from one place to another, and plant bodies have a large proportion of dead cells in many tissues. They are having dead cells. So as a result, what is happening? Plants have low energy needs and they can use relatively slow transport system. So the distances over which the transport systems have to operate, and however they can be easily they can be very large in plants such as very tall trees and all. Okay, so in the previous class we have already studied in 9th standard, we have studied about the structure of different tissues in details in 9th standard, right? So we have studied the fundamental unit of life in 9th standard, that is cell, and then the next lesson what we have studied is the tissues. So now the plant transport system, what we are seeing, we will see that they move energy stores from leaves and raw materials from the roots. So energy is produced in the leaves, that is removed or transported from the leaves, whereas the raw materials are removed or taken in from the roots. Now these two pathways are constructed independently organized conducting tubes. So once the xylem move water and minerals obtained from the soil, and the other is the phloem, which transports the products of photosynthesis. That is, phloem is moving the food, and xylem is moving the fluid part, that is the water. So xylem is transporting the water and phloem is transporting the products of photosynthesis, that is the food, from the leaves, and where they are synthesized to other parts of the plant. So this we will be studying in details down in the next slide, that is transport of water and transport of food, right? So let us move on. Now, how the transportation of water is done? Now, let's see here how it is done. So, in xylem tissue, what is happening? The vessels and the tracheids of the root, stem, leaves are interconnected to form a continuous system of water conducting channels. So, like as your house is having pipeline which is conducting water from one part of the house to another, like that only plants are also having the water conducting channels reaching to all parts of the plant, right? So at the roots, the cells in contact with the root, they actively take up the ions, and this creates a difference in concentration of these ions between the root and the soil. Okay, so there is a ionic difference, the concentration difference of ions. Okay, so might be for this difference, the ions, they move from one part to another. So water therefore moves into the root from the soil to eliminate this difference. Okay, so from the outside, from the root, the water is moving from, due to the ionic difference, the water is diffusing from the outside to the roots. So this means there is a steady movement of water into the root xylem and creating a column of water that is steadily pushed upwards towards the leaves, right? So like this only, water is being pushed from the roots to the leaves. So however, this pressure by itself is unlikely to be enough to move water over the heights that we commonly see in plants. So plants are having huge heights, right? So it should be like unlikely it should be enough to move water over the heights, but the plants use another strategy to move water in xylem upwards to the highest points in the plant body. So what is that strategy? That strategy we will read it now. Now first we will just go through one activity. Okay, so take two small pots and approximately of the same size, having the same amount of soil in it. One should have a plant in it. Place a stick in the same height as the plant in the other pot. Also is having the same height. So cover the soil in both the pots with a plastic sheet and so that the moisture cannot escape by evaporation. Okay, now cover both the sets, one with the plant and other with the stick with plastic sheets. Okay, so one is having a plant and another is not having any plant, it's having only a stick to just make the height. Okay, so with another with the plant and another with the same size, with the same amount of stick what you are putting, it should be covered with plastic sheets. Now you are putting them in bright sunlight for half an hour. So do you observe any difference? So we need to observe the differences in two cases. Okay, so first pots, we are taking small pots approximately of the same size. So we are taking that, just you think of that and afterwards you do this experiment. So having the same amount of soil and one should have a plant in it, another one you are not having a plant, you are having a stick of the same size, same height in it. Now you are covering and keeping them under sun for some time, suppose half an hour or 1 hour. So what are the differences observed? So that now we will move on to the observations, right? Now what is happening now? Provided that the plant has an adequate supply of water, the water which is lost through the stomata is replaced by the water from the xylem vessels in the leaves. So in fact, what was happening? Evaporation happened when you kept the plant and the stick. From the stick, no evaporation happened, but because it is a non-living object and it doesn't have water in it. But in the plant, we have seen water bubbles on the plastic sheet. So that will be our observation, right? So evaporation of water molecules from the cells of the leaves is happening, which creates what? As there is a void space, it creates a suction which pulls the water from the xylem cells of the root. So thus there is a pull, there is a pull, that is the water moves upwards. So this pull is called the ascent of sap, right? So this pull is called the ascent of sap, and how it is happening when during transpiration, during evaporation from the leaves, the water is lost from the plant parts, from the leaves. Now the water gushes from the roots to fill in those parts which have deficient amount of water, right? So the loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant is known as transpiration. Now what does this transpiration help to do? The transpiration helps in the absorption of the upward movement of water and minerals dissolved in from the roots to the leaves. So this is the function of transpiration. It is helping in the pull of upward movement of water and minerals dissolved in it from the roots to the leaves. Now it also helps in the temperature regulation of the plant. So as when we are sweating, our body temperature is regulated by the process of evaporation. Our body is getting cool. The same thing is happening in plants. They are also regulating their body temperature with the help of this process of transpiration. Okay. The effect of root pressure in the transport of water is more important at night and during the day when the stomata are open. So at night the transpiration doesn't happen as the stomata they are getting closed. So during the day when the stomata are open, the transpiration pull becomes the major driving force in the movement of water in the xylem. So this pulling of water is due to the transpiration pull. So this pulling of water due to the transpiration food. Now we have spoken about the transpiration pull. Right now this was regarding the transport of water in plants. Now we will move on to the transport of food and other substances in plant. Now we are discussing about the transport of food and other substances. So far we have discussed about the transport of water and minerals in plants. Now let us consider how the products of metabolic processes, that is particularly photosynthesis, are moved from leaves and where they are formed to other parts of the plant. So leaves, we all know that is the kitchen of the plant, that is the storehouse of food of the plant. So it should be transported to different parts of the plant body. So how it is being done? So this transport of soluble products of photosynthesis is called what? This is called translocation, and it occurs in the part of a vascular tissue that is known as phloem, right? So it occurs in the part of the plant or the vascular tissue that is called phloem. So besides the product of photosynthesis, what is the phloem doing? The phloem transports the amino acids and other substances also. Now these substances are specially delivered to the storage organs or other of the roots. So these substances are especially delivered to the storage organs of roots, fruits and seeds, and to the growing organs. Okay. So the translocation of food and the other substances takes place in the sieve tubes and with the help of adjacent companions in the cells, both upward and downward directions. So what is happening here? So these substances are delivered to the storage organs of roots, to the fruits, to the seeds of the growing organs, right? So the translocation of foods, they are being shifted to the fruits, to the seeds, to the roots, and other substances takes place in the sieve tubes. Okay, when you studied about the tissues in the previous class in 9th standard, I think you know what are sieve tubes. So with adjacent companion cells also which are near to the sieve tubes, both upward and downward directions they are moving. So unlike transport in xylem, which is largely explained by simple physical forces, the translocation in phloem is achieved by utilizing energy and material, like we can say that material like sucrose is transferred into the phloem tissue using the energy in the form of ATP, right? So sucrose is transferred into the phloem as using the energy from ATP. So what is this happening there? Then there is an increase in osmotic pressure of the tissue causing the water to move into it. As there is an osmotic pressure difference, the water will gush and move into it. So this pressure moves the material in the phloem to discuss which have less pressure. Now this allows the phloem to move materials according to the plant's needs. So their osmotic pressure differences leads the food to move from one part of the body to another, from one place to another. That is, this allows the phloem to move the materials according to the plant's needs. So for example, in the spring, we can say that sugar stored in the root or stem tissue would be transported to the buds which need to grow. So during the spring season, what will happen? The sugar which is stored in the root or the stem will be moved on to the buds, because at that time, spring, the flowers need to bloom. The flowers need more energy. So the sugar stored in the root and the stem will be moved to the buds to make them grow, right? So where there is a necessity of these energy and sugar, the plant organ, that is phloem, will transfer the food to that part only, that which parts need to grow. So that is according to the necessity, and that is according to the osmotic pressure difference, right? So now here are some few questions which you need to discuss. Just take your answer book and just write these questions. I've already discussed them in the above previous lesson also. So what are the components of the transport system in human beings? What are the functions of these components? Why is it necessary to separate the oxygenated, the deoxygenated blood in mammals and birds? Why? Because what will happen if they get mixed? If the oxygenated blood is mixing with the deoxygenated blood, what will happen? Now, what are the components of transport system in the plant which is highly organized? How are water and minerals transported in plants? So today only I have told you, and how is food transported in plants? So very easy. These two questions have been discussed in the previous class, and these three today only we have studied. So please do go through the previous part which I have already discussed, and the previous episode of transportation also I'll be putting in the description box, as well as in the I link above the link. And in the next episode we will be studying about excretion. So till then, you stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, and don't skip the videos in middle, because I am teaching the full video with different topics and different important points are discussed. So stay tuned, stay updated with all my lessons. Thank you.